Bada bing, bada fucking boom, let's go. Hello, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the new EP from Virus Syndicate, The Antidote. Mancunian rap duo Virus Syndicate are back with another collection for Disciple Records, their first since last April, maintaining their position as the prominent figures in the scene when it comes to the bass and rap crossover in the time since Sit Gang, working with the likes of Dr. P, Snails, Subtronics, to name but a few. Not forgetting also their iconic performance on the second Disciple mega collab We Don't Play, which is for me the most compelling reminder in recent memory of just how well rap and bass can blend. So yeah, pretty rosy for them at the moment in terms of what they bring to the bass table, as it were, and where they stand within that. I went into The Antidote wondering just a little whether we'd see any significant stylistic changes from them. But at the end of the day, it's another Disciple EP, another collection of bass-heavy producers involved. We knew what we were going to get. Not in a bad way. This is another set of captivating and impactful tracks, and far more so than Sit Gang, I would say. Virus Syndicate once again proving the chameleonic nature of their approach in sounding impressive over every beat. Trap instrumentation, for example, plays a big role on the EP, which makes sense considering it's rap music, drops aside, but it does arrive in different forms, creating different Virus Syndicate approaches along the way. The opening to the EP on Forward with Oliverse is so clean, like mega sharp. The perfect backdrop for phrases like touch the mic and then work it to kind of glide over the music. The articulation of everything here is just spot on. I'm just a kid from burning South Manchester, touch the mic and then work it. An instrumental low-key enough for the focus to be on what they're saying, but also purposeful enough to get that bite from them early on. Following that, on Pray for Money with Barely Alive, we get something similar, albeit a bit gloomier on the instrumental front. There are more gaps available, the tone more solemn, and this allows Virus Syndicate to be more sincere in their delivery. The line "funny guy, funny flow" I found interesting, Is this them talking about themselves or how others perceive them or other people altogether? If it is talking about how others view them, I think it's a pretty clever jab at anyone doubting them, as if to say, look where we are. You guys, the people hating on us, are the ones that look stupid. Not sure I know for the most part what they're rapping about here, but you can tell it has meaning, is rooted in emotion, and is a story to tell. And the way they feverishly rap, bleed for the money, live for the money, breathe for the money, pray for the money, is a great sonic representation of people's general thirst for wealth. Yeah, pray for the money, bleed for the money, live for the money, breathe for the money, yeah, pray for the money. So it's a very strong opening in terms of vocal, instrumental combinations and making that definite first impression, but the focus does shift a bit once track 3 comes around, Go Sick with Frankie Nuts, where we get trap of the more triumphant variety, very grand with brass notes flying off everywhere. Makes it harder to follow exactly what Virus Syndicate is saying with the music being so large, but in saying that, it still really works. Pure hype, fired up, waiting to be let out of the cage. The outlier, therefore, in that respect, is the closer, Media Jungle, with Infect, which has a similarly mellow and sparse feel to the Barely Alive collab, but doesn't delve into trap percussion, instead relying on the sounds available to create a warm and inviting environment. In the process, allowing Virus Syndicate to adopt quite a reflective and remorseful tone in discussing our relationship with media and the media. My favourite moment being when they seem to be getting at people for being overly materialistic, before flipping it 180 style and saying, "Don't blame you, we're all twisted," following Kim K and her sisters. It's like, we don't actually want to waste our lives following media tripe, so if they've hacked our dopamine triggers, can we be blamed? As they say later on, they feel lost in the jungle, and I think that's an accurate reflection on how overwhelming media can be. Also interesting here is the fact that we get probably the shortest artist introduction from Virus Syndicate yet. Here we go. It's Virus Syndicate, Infect, Disciple. I mean, that is proof that no matter how brief the intro, they've always got to get that in, and I love it. Just going to touch on some other lyrical highlights here across the collection because, you know, at the end of the day, it is a rap duo's EP. Sticking with Media Jungle, one line I must admit I'm not that big on arrives just before the second drop when they say, 1 second here. Climate change got us burning now, not too late, we can turn it around. Whilst I really appreciate the sentiment here, if climate change has its way, there'll be nothing, and soon, and we can turn it around. But in the context of this tune, I'm not sure where it comes from. It feels a bit random and misplaced, and naff as a result. On the flip side, you have the imagery in the second half of Pray for Money talking about SpaceX, oil smoke in grey skies, staying blind as the world changes. Some of the internal rhyming here, where you rhyme within a bar and not just at the end of them, is incredible as well. On Forward, the streak of rhyming reverend with sentence, with entrance, with attendance, with gremlins, with Kremlin is pretty brilliant. And I like how they remind people of how big a part they've played in this scene, their status within it, what they've done to merge bass and rap. Again on Forward, saying go look up the name and see I'm a legend, and then on Go Sick, look what I've done for the game. Many people have gotten into dubstep and bass generally in the last few years or so, and will have no idea that Virus Syndicate have been going since the early 2000s, and so I think it's a good thing that they say what they're saying here, even though a bit braggadocious, to remind us they were one of the very first and have become one of the very best. Beyond that, the Antidote is yet another reminder of how good Virus Syndicate are at creating hype and ridiculously sticky hooks. The builds being the biggest proof of this, of course, all solid, but I have to single out the refrain of don't look back over my shoulder, gotta go forward now, on Forward, with the surging Oliver's instrumental beneath it, but also Pray for Money. The flow and catchiness of that build is just... And this is before I've touched on the heaviness, which of course plays a big part here too, and I will stick with Pray for Money for now. Gonna put it out there, this is some of the best material we've heard from Barely Alive in the last few years. It isn't typically off the wall or crazy from them in any way, but for what they choose to do, the execution is absolutely perfect. The grisly, dagger-like delivery is just so menacing and cuts deep. The vocal chopping and distortion are incredible as well. The fake-outs, I must admit, I find a bit weird, the kind of thing I don't get how they were happy with how it turned out. But the actual heaviness is just so well done. The Oliver's cut is very much him in full flow, that powerful, colourful, bouncy, wub-fueled sound. It's full of attitude. Particularly love the progressions, where the note placement is a little more adventurous and playful, darting everywhere, and you know, that is what he's about. The Infect, I would also say, is pretty much what you'd expect, albeit a bit meaner than usual, which is definitely welcomed. Very swampy, grungy, oozy RIDDIM, a nice aggression to it. Could have done with freshening up a bit, the production comes off a bit muffled. Vocal could have been mixed a bit higher too. Also goes on for a bit too long by the end, but the feeling and sounds are really there. The one that caught me off guard a bit was Go Sick, with Frankie Nuts really coming through on the production front, at least initially. Definitely could push further with the triplet approach at points, and the execution could be a bit tighter, but the instinct is fantastic, and it's some of his better production, no doubt. The second drop, unfortunately, bringing it back down to earth a bit. A good RIDDIM-y switch, but without the snare to back it up. On the heaviness front, structurally, it's a simple EP, but it has to be because the drops aren't the focus here. As with past Virus Syndicate projects, a load of wild second drop changes, for example, would put Virus Syndicate in the background, so The structures are fine. And really, you have to say props to these producers for accommodating Virus Syndicate in such neat and contained ways. I mean, the temptation to branch off and do something wild would be huge, but the way they tailor their sound, which isn't easy, is commendable. Bottom line here for me, though, is that in the Antidote, I think we have another very solid Virus Syndicate collection. I wouldn't go as far as to say that we get anything from them here that reaches into the excellence provided on We Don't Play, for example, but it is very, very solid, and in coupling that with the range of impressive instrumentals we get as well, it's one of the most flavoursome and varied EPs I've heard this year for sure. I'm left pondering slightly where they go from here. Do they keep with the banger format, keep churning out EPs and running through the Disciple roster? Or do they make a new album, you know, something a bit more extensive and stripped back and down to earth? They're more conscious and aware on the Antidote, and you can tell they want to go even further with more thoughtful and sincere lyrics, but the hype of the music and the fact that they can provide hype on top of that themselves doesn't allow for that more down-to-earth vibe. I personally think it would be great to get a project from them that isn't as hyped, where the tone is less intense and the focus is more on the lyrical content, where you can always really feel and hear what they're saying, and there isn't a risk of the music taking over, which does happen a bit here. But I mean, that's for going forward. Fact of the matter, the Antidote is further proof you can't find other rappers having a bigger impact in bass music right now. Hardly any moments here that make me recoil or question what's going on. Another collection where near everything works so well. What they're saying may play second fiddle at points, but their articulation and flow is always top drawer. Whatever the beat, they play their part. Detractors will point to the fact that by now, their overall approach has become a bit formulaic and in need of development. But when it's one that works so well, it can still be appreciated a lot. Of course it can evolve, but it's still there to enjoy. And importantly, I come out of another project from them feeling grateful for the part they play in this scene, which in many ways is all one could want. Now in terms of my favourite here, then I think I'm gonna have to go with Pray for Money, the Barely Alive collab, my favourite drop material here, and the track where Virus Syndicate get most real, I think. So yeah, overall, a winning combination. And for recommendations, if you enjoyed the EP, then I would just look at past Virus Syndicate stuff. In particular, their Sit Gang EP from last year. And so there we have it, my thoughts on the new EP from Virus Syndicate. The Antidote, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. What did you guys make of the Antidote? Do you have a favourite track of the four? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video to the channel, and my social media accounts are linked down below. And if you want to find some other EP reviews on the channel, I will link them right here. And lastly, beyond that, if it's naughty, then you know, keep it naughty, stay safe, and I will see you legends in the next one. Peace out.